Okay, well, thanks for your time, gentlemen.
With addendum M
You would like to
on
start with addendum
motors
M?
and
Yeah? Okay, let me get to that. First, I just want to make some basic introductions. Ladies and gentlemen and colleagues from the education and healthcare industries, thanks for making the effort to come. Code writing and vote getting is a fast-moving space, and it's not something that is generally an ethic in our public sector. So what you're going to see here is the nuts and bolts, the skunk work, so to say, of trying to get these documents under control. I have the good fortune of having Karl Watson and Larry Spielvogel from Philadelphia here. Larry, want to say a little something about yourself, and then Karl, say a little something about yourself, and we can get into the markup session.
I'm an independent engineer, and I spent 19 years serving on the 90.1 committee, including a term as the chairman.
Karl?
Well, I'm also an independent consulting engineer in electrical engineering primarily, specializing in energy and lighting, so that's where I spend most of my time, and I have a power systems and controls background.
Okay, thanks guys. So Larry, you said you want to get after, you'd like to go after S, is that correct?
Oh, M.
M. Okay, let's go to M. I thought I had all these guys up here. Okay, so fire away. What are your thoughts?
Well, the issue is regulating the efficiency of fire pump motors is ludicrous, and regulating the efficiency of small, especially fractional horsepower motors is also ludicrous. Can it be done? Sure. Is it worth it? Who knows? Because some of these motors barely ever run.
Yeah, we think specifically of jockey pumps. A lot of those are fractional horsepower. But on the, let's talk about a Mitsubishi fan coil unit. That falls into this category, right?
Most small fan coil units are less than half horse.
Yeah. Okay. So that they're trying to get here. So that there's something there. You and I are on the same page with respect to fire pump motors and the jockey pump, obviously. So now we ask ourselves, if you're a manufacturer, what does the industry say? Is it more economical for them as a producer just to do all energy efficient motors at this scale?
Well, translated, it means more expensive motors.
That's right. That's right, and that's how that's. I have some colleagues at NEMA who would openly admit that was a bit of market making. So okay, so let's. I think we've actually marked this up. First of all, just for our audience's sake, I wanted to let them see that we are. This is I'm logged on right now into the ANSI commenting phase on ANSI comments, and I might just try to start one here. Excuse me, I'm already logged in. We would go to this one, and I want them to see how you start a comment and online. So this would go to online public review drafts, and this was to M, and we'll go through this one step. You'll see another one that I've done, and we'll have to do some of this off-site just in the interest of time. So right now we're waiting for this to come up, and I'm not seeing. I need to see. So here is the standard. So now in order to make a comment on the standard, you come over here and you click the far left column.
I wouldn't waste any time on the website yet until you have a good idea of exactly what you want to say and how you want to say it.
Right. So this is kind of like a cooking show. I want them to see this one part of this process because I like others to know how to do this. And then I'll just put in some dummy language, and you can see how I'll do a draft. I've also done a nearly completed draft. We're looking at about 11 or 12 of these already. So so what they ask you for is let's just say delete fire pump motors. Let's say delete fire pump motors, fire pump motors from this change. It's a comment. It's a substantive change, and it came from what section did it come from? You have to go and say what section it came from, and that is 10.4.1. So then they ask you to put that, it's a clause, and it's 10.
But again, what this process is doing, Mike, is trying to pigeonhole your concerns so that they can blow you away.
Well, there's that. Yeah, there's that. Well, you know, if you look at my record there, I've gotten out of 11, I've got a couple of them are substantive. Sorry. So here is, I'm just saving this as a draft. So now our audience can see what the process is for. And if you go back to what my record has been over the past year or so, it will show you. Now, again, we are, Karl, we are in the environment. This is ASHRAE's commenting environment. You will see, if I can get it to generate fast enough, that, and it's not generating fast enough. I may have to jettison this. I'll try one more time. And it looks like it says, Mike, we're going to take our time with you. Oh, I know what it wanted. It wants to have my affiliation. Oh, that's another thing I need to say, is that these are comments that are coming specifically from the University of Michigan and I'll say affiliated interests. We're going to be a little bit more careful about that.
And again, with ASHRAE, that's pretty useless. Even when you have an entire technical committee, all of whom are experts on the subject,
yeah,
they don't that much weight.
That's right. I often say that it's not enough to have the data. It's not enough to even be right. That's how this stuff is, and that's why we just continue to try to move and front run some of our competitors. So what you've seen here, so what you'll see here in this environment is I've got 2 comments in process. You'll notice that of the past year, I believe I put 11 comments out, and 2 of them have been accepted, and 9 are rejected, and some of them are unresolved, and 1 of them we're still waiting to hear something from. So I think that's I call that fair success. They know who we are. I would love the people who are watching this video to call me, and I can walk you through this with your own account. I've done this with maybe 10 or 12 people over the past year. So okay, so let that part of it go, and I think we're on the same page with respect to Addendum M. So the next one, Larry, what would you like to go after? Which comment? Which proposal?
Why don't we do L?
Want to do L? Okay. While you're out there, Karl, any thoughts about I'm not sure if you're able to actually see what we're doing here.
He has copies.
You have copies? Okay.
I have the M, the F, and the E addendum. That's all.
Okay. All right. So my hope is that you're going to pipe in with your own insight onto this.
Well, I agree with Larry on the M comments. We haven't gotten to the other 2 that I have in front of me.
Can you add your own perspective on M and what Larry and I agree on?
Well, fire pumps only have one purpose, and when their purpose is to operate, your efficiency of the motor is the least critical matter. The matter is, does the pump work and does the water flow? And it's to fight a fire. And if the building's on fire, that's when it's needed, and its efficiency is not the most important parameter at that time.
That's right.
And that's straightforward.
Yeah. Very often.
With most of these issues, the question becomes whether something is technically and economically justified for all buildings that are covered. And so, for example, let's say you have a 3-horsepower hot water circulating pump. Well, if that 3-horsepower pump is on a building in Minneapolis, it probably runs 5,000 hours a year. But that identical pump on a building in Miami won't even run 300 hours a year. How can you technically and economically justify that pump in Miami when you could in Minneapolis?
Yes. There is a fair amount of geographic information in ASHRAE 90.1, as you know. They seem to be getting granular about that as far as climatic zones go, just as the civil people deal with seismic. But it's fair. That's one of the risks you make in this document. I'm just wondering if I should go back to some statements I meant to lay out there before we approach before these. But before we're done, I'd like to go through some of the observations that I had to summarize what we do here. So can we, in the interest of time then, can we move on to, what was it, M? M is the one we want to work on now?
What's the other one that you have, Carl?
F is in Fox and E is in Echo.
Okay.
Oh, they're not in the current round.
Well,
F,
those are the ones you sent me, so.
no, these are, this is part of the package, Larry. F is, this one deals with automatic daylighting, responsive controls for type. Okay, so you're a lighting guy here. You're let fly here, Carl.
Well, this one has some reason for being, but I'm not sure that 150 watts is the most reasonable cutoff point. That could be as little as, well, it could be as little as 2 fixtures, 2 luminaires, and again, they're asking for the same resolution of control that they have on other dimming systems. In other words, you have to have multiple steps from full power to 50 to 70%, and another one down at 20 to 40%, and another one, of course, is off. But anyway, it's again asking for a lot of extra cost on something that may not have the economic justification.
Right. We see this a lot. There's a particular problem with how we have to approach this addendum, and this happens a lot, when we see that the only thing they're asking for is to strike out this material here and to add a more prescriptive, granular type of a statement. The rules are such that you can only comment on what they're changing. So you'll see in my other statement that while we're at it, not only do we not like what you're proposing, we don't like the whole concept here, but we have to only respond to what's here. And what we're able to do, Carl, is that we can come back with a continuous maintenance proposal and go after this. Is that something you'd like to try? Which is also useless?
I don't think that's a good approach.
Okay, what's a better one?
Well, the question is, again, what I said is, you've got daylight dimming, and you have a requirement that's in there for side lighting. This is adding it essentially for top lighting. And it seems like it seems excessive. It seems like we're trying to add more things just to have more challenges. The average designer doesn't do this. They don't concern themselves with this, particularly not under a single skylight or a single roof monitor that has 3 fixtures or more. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here.
Okay, just your experience. Well, remember that I guess we're coming back to what I had wanted to say. Some of the observations about 90.1 is that it does tend to be complex, and that complexity serves a curriculum generating enterprise within any organization that does it. If we go back to this, you can't see this, Carl, but I'll say that we captured this idea that much of what's going on in 90.1 and a lot of the energy codes are simply to take away design discretion from electrical from designers, basically. And
yeah. And in this case, lighting designers who may not be electrical engineers or may not even be wise enough to know what the other discipline has to do to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's making the process more complex than it really should be, and it's tying the hands of the designer. Is not even, that's an understatement. It's forcing things to be such a certain way.
It's tying the hands and the feet.
Well, yeah, and it's making it necessary for you to buy equipment, lighting equipment, that is so complex that A, it's not affordable. That's really not the only problem. But B, it's so complex that once it's installed and turned on, no one's going to be able to maintain it.
And it's not reliable.
Well, that has yet to be proven, but that's very likely.
Okay, so that's what I'm driving at. If we are serious about wanting to try to unroll some of these extremely unproductive and uneconomical prescriptive requirements we're seeing in this section, we have to do that under a different process. All that this particular Addenda F is saying is that daylight areas under skylights where overall skylight effective aperture for the effective enclosed space is 6 thousandths. Daylight
Again,
area.
where is the technical and economic justification for that particular requirement?
Well, that comes from the market-making enterprises within the organizations that benefit from that change, right?
Oh?
That's okay. What's another answer?
How does that apply to the wide range of buildings that use skylights that may not even be open during the day?
Right. Well, but remember, they want to have a benchmark. You understand, Larry, that I am on your side here, but just because you guys are coming at this, I'm just being the devil's advocate here and suggesting that we know why these excruciatingly prescriptive requirements are put in here. They serve incumbent interests. And if we want to roll these back, we have to install a continuous maintenance proposal. We can try, and Carl, if you like, we can work separately, because we do have to get through these others. We do have a time constraint. But I'd be happy to work this one. We can say not only do we not like this, but we don't like the whole concept of this section, and we can do that. Just trash it. They're going to say no, of course, but we can start the discussion on that.
I don't think continuous maintenance is going to help you, but go ahead.
Well, so how do we delete something? So while riding by on horseback, we saw this overly prescriptive requirement. How do we roll that back? We're not allowed to comment on anything we saw while riding by a horseback. We're only allowed to comment on this area here.
It's too complex, and it doesn't have an economic justification.
Okay.
Or an adequate economic justification.
Okay, and like so many of these, I know Larry's going to say this, that these ideas are put out there by the committee generally, as I try to say here, that these proposals are committee members, DOE contractors, with relatively little public input, as we're accustomed to in the NFPA processes. So this is market making, guys, and then we should recognize it and accept it as part. That's America, isn't it? All kinds of ways to sell stuff, and this is just so it's our job here to try to be reasonable and look for compromises first. So if you don't mind, again, in the interest, there are a lot of other good ideas here we really need to tackle. Since Carl's, what would you like to do next, Carl, on your list and the pack that you have?
Well, the only other one I have is the Addendum E, which I have a lot less problem with than the other two.
Addendum E, okay, let's look at this one. Addendum E deals with, again, more lighting control. Okay, here we go.
Well, lighting control it's actually requirements when you do alterations of a existing building's lighting system is how I interpret it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so once again, they make these gnarly references. Do you need me to call up this particular section? Let's see what it says for us.
Well, the one thing this one is talking about is this one is actually trying to keep up with the Joneses. The 2013 Addendum E is trying to match the Title 24 2013 document and the 2012 IECC. That's what this is all about, or at least it appears to be. I mean, that's what the forward talks about, and it seems like it justifies it, that we have to make these things converge a little bit. And it does make sense to relax the threshold from 10% trigger to a 20% trigger And the one that really makes sense is that if all you're doing is changing the lamps and ballasts, which you would do anyway, just to say go from T12 to T8, and as long as you don't increase the installed lighting power density, which you almost never will, there are exceptions to that, where you're going from a 4-lamp fixture with a nominal ballast factor to a 2 or a 3-lamp fixture with a much higher ballast factor, or a 2-lamp with a much higher, or a 3-lamp with a relatively high ballast factor. But you almost never still increase the installed lighting power density. So they're going backwards a step and saying we're adding this as an exception, or it's really an exemption, but it says exception, that if you're only changing the lamps and the ballasts or only involving a 1-for-1 luminaire replacement, you only need to comply with the power density requirement. And of course, it exempts routine maintenance, which is going to happen no matter whether there's a standard or not. Something's out, and it's over somebody's desk, the maintenance guy's going to go and fix it or get it fixed.
Larry?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. So,
in other words, I don't really have a problem with this. I think this addendum is actually, of the three we've talked about, this one's actually pretty reasonable.
Okay. All right. Well,
I don't want to change it. I don't feel it needs to be altered, and I think it's going in the right direction.
Okay. All right. Well, then that's kind of nice. All right. Then we'll leave that one. We'll leave that one aside. And I think those are of the three. So those are the three you were focusing on: E, M, and F. Do I have that, or L?
E, F, and M.
E, F,
Echo,
and M.
Frank, and Montana.
E, F. We dealt with F, and we'll deal with that off to the side, and then of course M on the motor pump. So, okay, Larry, where's your where would you
A few
like
minutes
to go
that we
next?
have left, addendum BM, third public review.
Oh boy, that's a gorilla.
That's the messy one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I thought I had that on the agenda here. I thought I called it up for us. I guess I don't. Let's see. All right, addendum BM, and I believe that is right. Where is BM?
Third from the top.
Oh, there we are. I looked this over, Larry, and I don't even know where to start. Do you want?
What is the subject?
Go ahead, Larry. It's dealing with a number of changes. I don't even know where to start. Larry, do you want to describe it?
With the performance option, and it's a pissing contest between ASHRAE and IECC.
Do you want to, Larry, you have control of the screen right now. Would you like to walk us through it?
Well,
yes.
But the issue is, if you're going to play in this sandbox, you better be prepared to A, understand the sophistication of the proposal, and B, have the resources to see it through.
I think this is out for third public review. I wouldn't advise. I think if you had to pick your battles and you divide the world in half, this is too far. This is too much of a horse out the barn for us. I'd rather work from the ground up, but I could be mistaken.
But the issue is this can be the trigger between choosing whether to comply with ASHRAE or whether to comply with IECC.
Okay.
Right now, with the way things sit today, people are choosing ASHRAE because it is less restrictive than IECC, but this would make ASHRAE more restrictive than IECC, and therefore they'll come back at the next round of IECC and try to make that even more restrictive.
Well, let's see. Did you just say that IECC was more restrictive, or we'll call more prescriptive than ASHRAE?
For the performance option, IECC is more restrictive because you have to do 15% better in order to use it.
Okay, okay, good, because I'm using the concept that a large part of 90.1 is actually referenced into the IECC. But you were talking
Yeah.
about the particular performance variant of this, and which BM represents. Okay. Well, it sounds to me that we do have some time on that one. If I'm not mistaken, we have until October 29th. Basically,
45 day, right.
45 days. So let's drill down a little bit on that and see what our prospects are. How about we do that? Is that okay?
Now,
Yes.
need to find someone who is knowledgeable in this area, who has the time and the resources to understand the difference between what's there now and what's being proposed.
Yeah, and that guy's got to be able to do battle with all these folks.
With all the computer jockeys.
How about that? How about that? Yeah, okay. All right, let's rip through. We have almost not that many more. Let me show you what I put out on let me show you what I put out on that other statement. I think it went out on, it was this, because it's instructive, I think, to show that the Cooling Tower Institute, since we're talking about referencing how documents are incorporated by reference, let's go delete references to the CTI standards. So I didn't get the lettering, the fonts correct, but I think substantively you will begin to see what I said here. So I simply said remove it. I said not only do we recommend rejection of this change, but we recommend removal of references to the Cooling Tower Institute's documents until these documents are developed according to ANSI accredited standards development processes. This process provides an open, transparent, and balanced process that is accessible to the user owner interest, the interest group that has final fiduciary authority. Short of this, this looks like market making using legislative processes. So I was very specific. In the state of Michigan, for example, I cited the particular act that references the IBC and the IECC. I went to section 401 of the IECC, which references 90.1, and now comes a reference in table 6.81 to documents developed by the CTI. I did get confirmation this morning. They're another organization that's a member of ANSI, but their documents, at least this one, is not developed according to a process that allows the user interest an open access to the way that the document develops, in particular how it would affect the particular cost and risk profile of this industry. So this is almost becoming a de rigueur for me to make this statement. I would really like somebody else to do it, but this is what got out there, and so we see this theme again. And ironically, of course, Carl, I'm going to close this right now. This is what we need to be producing by October 15th, I believe. Is that when they're... so we'll go after each one of these guys. But that's
sooner than the...
Is it sooner than that? Is it the 15th? Where did we say our deadline? When are the comments due? Geez. I think the comments are due the first week of October. Then maybe I didn't get that right. Let's go back to our friends here at ASHRAE and find out when this batch is due. Here's our public review drafts, and they were busy. It looks like this is their post-conference build-up, so to say, and I believe
no, it's post-fall, where it...
Post what?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear that. You're breaking up a little bit, but it looks like they're due October 5th. So, okay, let's look at P. P is one that says, oh, that is the one. That's the Cooling Tower Institute, right? Oh, wait, is this a different one? No, this is, okay. So that's P, and let's take a look at U here. U is all about kitchen hood transfer. We talked a bit about this, Larry, I think, and I think the statement we were going to make is there's no data to support this. If I'm not mistaken, that's where we left it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want, I have a friend who is an expert on kitchen exhaust ventilation.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be the director of procurement for a little company called McDonald's.
Never heard of them. Yeah? Okay, and all right, let's work this a little bit. I think where we left this was that I'd been involved in the back and forth between fire safety folks that want a certain airflow and the energy conservation folks that want a certain airflow. They run into trouble in hospital settings and kitchens. So I'd be happy. I don't have any strong feelings about this. I know that this CFM, the threshold requirements, there's not universal agreement on that one. I think a fair amount of money could be involved in this one. That's why I think it's probably important to look at this one. Conditioned supply air delivered. Conditioned supply air, that's interesting. Does that mean it's preheated in a certain way?
And pre-cooled, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it's got to be a certain type of air. And I think we argued about who is the facility environmental health and safety department. So here's the folks. This actually puts the fire safety guys and the environmental guys in the same sentence. Well, that's going to be fun. So here's where they have to duke it out, and then they get really prescriptive here. So I think this is one we probably we'll write, and I'll put some comments out there, and I'll circulate them among people that are much more expert than I on that one.
Okay.
Okay, that was you. R is all about baseline HVAC system. Determine the order or the priority of building usage.
That's only for the performance method.
Okay.
Not used very much.
Okay, good. We'll kill this one off. What do we have here? O is asking us to duct sealing. Duct sealing. What are your thoughts on this? Doesn't look like it's. Looks like a correlation issue here. Ductwork in all plumbs with pressure class rating shall be constructed to seal Class A. It looks like they're taking some references out of here. That looks like just some internal referencing.
The reference, I believe, is to the contractor's standard.
Oh, and of course the contractor standard we don't know about too much, do we?
Well, I do.
Wait a second. Seal class. Where does it say a contractor standard is in there? As required to meet the requirement. Let me go to that section 644. Let me get back to our table of contents here. I can find it. 644. Where are we? Page 46. 644. Here we are. 644.
Can I ask a question? How much longer are we going to be on this conference call?
Let's make it 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. We run over time. I knew this might have been happening because we're getting into this is the rough stuff that is very hard to get done, but is nearly always necessary. So I'm grateful for. Actually, Carl, if you'd like to get off now, we can run through topically what how the rest of them look like. Otherwise, you're welcome to call off now.
Well, the question is, are any of them involving lighting or lighting controls?
There were 3, if I recall.
Already, you're done, Carl.
Are you?
Okay.
Okay, Carl. Let's get in touch probably later in the week, early next week. I'd be grateful to talk a little bit more and let you see some markups.
Okay.
I'll send them to Larry.
Send them to Larry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appendix E is non-mandatory references, and it references the Sheet Metal Contractors Association.
Okay. Appendix E, Addendum E references the Contractors Association. This is the one that Carl was just complaining about. E, lighting alterations. Yeah. All right.
No.
You're saying Addendum E is referencing contractor requirements?
Appendix E.
Oh, excuse me, on the ASHRAE. Yeah. Okay. Right. All right. Well, look, I do promise people a 30-minute call, Larry, and if this does nothing else, we'll probably have to log off. Carl, you're welcome. Thank you very much for your time. You'll see our markups, and I'll post those markups on this website a little bit, probably within a week, and then everybody can take a look at what we're doing. And it looks like we get a fair attendance with the YouTube videos, and we'll see what happens. So in any case, there will be language put back in front of these committees, and that's something we typically have not systematically been able to do, and we're getting better at it every week. So, okay, Larry, I do think out of courtesy to our listeners, let's talk a little bit more off-site on this one and then carry on with the remainder of marking these up probably early next week. Is that all right with you?
Okay.
Does that help you? Okay, well then I just have to sign off to our audience. I'll put this up on our website probably Thursday night, and I'm grateful very much for your very grateful for your time. And we will our next conference call for the MAPPA members, for the other people who call in here, our subject matter the next time, I believe, will be what will be our subject matter next time? I think it may well be it's going to be, okay, the guides. Yeah, this will be the session we'll have with NFPA's committee leader on confined space. So with that, I'll leave everybody. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a good weekend, and I'll see you on the Worldwide Intertubes.
Mike,
Okay.
why don't you call
Thanks,
Dave
Bill.
Handwork, Steve Friedman, Jim Sebesta, and Lucas Hyman to see if they're still interested at all.
I will do that.
Because they haven't been on one of these calls in months.
That's right. That's right. And remember that there's all of them have claimed the lack of time. That was something was happening way last year. So we know what this phenomenon. I think I'll cut this